We'll begin in Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, where President Muhammadu Buhari today arrived on a two-day walking visit, where he inaugurated the Lekki deep sea port, the motorized mill, and best staff lubricant at MRS Holdings Company Limited, all located within the state. The $1.5 billion Lekki deep sea port is a joint venture between the federal government through the Nigerian Port Authority, Lagos State Government, the Tolerance Group, the owner of the Lagos Free Zone, and China Harbour Engineering Company. It began in 2006 under the administration of former governor of the state, Bola Tinubu. President Buhari was led by host governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambo, the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Xiu Jianchong, top government officials, and traditional rulers to witness the overloading from the container ship sailing under the flag of Malta. Lagos officials say the size of the vessels that will berth at the port would be 4 times the size of vessels that currently berth at Apapa and Tinkan Island ports.
All right, let's cross live to Lagos now and speak to Gbolahan Olojede, who is a strategist for the Lagos State Government and a development expert. Thank you very much for joining us on News Night tonight. Quite a handful, for President Buhari to unveil today. Now, help us understand on the issue of the deep sea ports. We do know that only the federal government is by law allowed to establish seaports. Now, there's this partnership, China, the federal government, the Lagos State government. First off, how will all of these projects contribute to the IGR of Lagos State, and what would be Lagos State's share?
Okay. The project, you have described it as quite a humongous one. While on one side, federal government is the one that has the rights to do port. But because it has the right, it means it cannot actually also give the right to some other organization under some concession agreement. So what we have with the Lekki Seaport is the 45-year concession involving the groups you have mentioned. You have the Tolerance, the China Harbour. Then the federal government, of course, is still in that deal through the Nigerian Port Authority. And then we have Lagos State Government as the other partner in that joint venture. The nature of ports are trade facilitator. So they make it easy, convenient, efficient for international trade to happen, the import and the export. And in the course of that, that's what you call the port economy. So a huge economy built around the port, which makes it possible to be a job spinner and in an economy where employment has become a major challenge. You can imagine what it means to have a project such as the Lekki Deep Sea Port and the possibilities, the opportunities it presents for job opportunity. There are the direct jobs, and then there will also be, of course, those ones that are not exactly direct that will come from there. Some estimate provided said about 170,000 jobs are expected to be provided by that project alone. When jobs are provided, you have people earning salaries. The people earning salaries also now pay taxes on their salary. They pay as you go taxes. At the same time, they have disposable income which they can spend. In the course of spending their disposable income, they have to create a multiplier effect in the economy. And that is why projects like these are very critical to development and the economy of not just Lagos, but I dare say Nigeria in itself.
Mr. Olojede, some clarifications. Is this a PPP or is it a BOT, build, operate and transfer? And can you also confirm that the Chinese own majority shares in this 45-year concessionary project? And why is that so? And finally, also, you have to talk about the potentials of this deep sea port, but there are concerns amongst residents of that axis of Lagos, especially that the government hasn't learned so much from the pitfalls from other ports in Lagos, the Apapa and Tinkan Island Road. They fear that with the operation of this deep sea port, the road network will be locked, making it difficult for people living around the area. What's the assurance and what's the plan for connectivity to the hinterland and the roads there?
Okay, I'll start with the BOT. BOT in itself is a form of PPP. That's build, operate, and transfer. So it's the concession model between, you have an entire spectrum from something being fully owned by the government and another being fully owned by the private sector. In between these two extremes, you have all form of collaboration that you can have. And those are the PPP schemes that we're talking about. So this particular one is a PPP. And the concession period is 45 years. You raised issue about the concern, which are genuine concerns. People are wondering, we know what happened at Apapa. Is this going to be replicated at this end as well? And that consciousness is also on the mind of the government, has been expressed by the government. There are certain redevelopment of certain part of that route, as you might have observed, that is currently ongoing. Apart from that, Lagos State is beautiful for being surrounded by water. And one part of this entire scheme, which we have not exploited to the maximum, is the waterways. I know that the current administration has done something to further what has been done before, getting some ferries in place, getting some new what do you call those terminals in place as well. But at the same time, there is more that is needed to be done, which is also part of the consideration on the side of the government to ensure that things will not become difficult by virtue of this mega project. We're talking of a project that could generate 170,000 employment, for example. So that means there will be a lot of activities going on at that axis. And those activities require smooth exit and an inflow of people and goods and goods as well. So the whole logistic has to be perfect to ensure that it will not become burdensome for the people. This is also on the plate of the government, and it is part of that redevelopment that we are seeing along the Lekki axis.
That's fantastic to note. We'll be keeping an eye to ensure that, the Apapa axis situation does not repeat itself along that Lekki corridor. Now, there's another concern. There seems to be a disparity, a huge one at that, between the figures put out by the Lagos State government on the cost of the Lagos Blue Rail. According to the Lagos State government, it cost $1.2 billion to, put that in place, while the Chinese posted $182 million on the cost of the Blue Rail. Help us understand why this huge disparity.
Seeing those information circulating on the internet, I've also heard a few people discuss it. And what I tried to do was to go and search for that information myself from that company site, and I couldn't find it. So I would rather refrain from commenting on an information that I have not been able to substantiate that information. Apart from that, I think the figure provided by the Lagos State government is what I would rather work with in the absence of any other contrary figure. So if you know a particular link of the company where this information is made available, I would like to read it. But I've not been able to see it, apart from what is going on the internet, the ding dong on the internet, as well as some few personalities that have spoken about that. But I need to be able to trace it to the original source. I've not been able to do that.
Mr. Olojede,
we'll get that figure.
Give us the figure the Lagos State government is working with on that project. And I want you to also speak quickly on one of the projects inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari today, the Ikota rice mill. Again, talking about access road. I know that road very well. Such huge investment, yes, the roads are tragic leading to Ikota. What's the government doing on that? And of course, depending on the statistics you look at, some people will say Lagosians consume 16 million bags of rice yearly. What's the potential of this rice mill? Would it provide affordable, accessible, available, and wholesome rice to Lagos residents and others?
I think this is the beauty of a project of that scale. One of the problems we've had with rice are the small mills with limited capacity. So when you see a Nigerian who are, be unfortunate to buy rice that is not properly milled, he is immediately disenchanted with whatever initiative you are talking about. So he wants to go back to his imported rice. However, the scale and the capacity of the project we're talking about, we eliminate that. So we're going to have rice that is properly milled and can stand the standard of an imported rice. So that is a good part about this particular project. It also has implications further up the chain. When you have an off-taker of that size sitting somewhere, it spoils production because people who are going to be producing across the entire rice belt of Nigeria now know that there is a mega mill that cannot take what they are producing. So these producers can be organized and their party of taking by a mill of this kind of size. So it has a huge benefit up the chain, creating jobs, including farming jobs and all those other ancillary jobs along the pathway up to the mill. Then the mill, because it is capable of producing high quality standard products, is now in a position to meet the needs of Nigerians who are in the quest for high standard rice. You mentioned something about whether it can meet Lagosians' consumption. I believe it is capable of meeting Lagosians' consumption for rice.
To the question of
the figure
money importing rice into this country.
Right.
There are two information about importing rice. So the PBA. Okay, I think you're saying.
Yeah, very quickly in 30 seconds, if you can. The cost. What exactly is the figure that Lagos State is putting out on the final cost of the Blue Rail?
1.2 billion. 1.2 billion. Well, the last information that I have on that is about 157 billion naira.
Right.
That is the last information I have on that project.
Okay. Great. All right. Mr. Gbolahan Olojede is a strategist for the Lagos State government and a development expert. And we do hope that these concerns raised about this laudable project will be looked into. But we do appreciate your time on the news tonight. Thank you.